Hi, I'm Aaron Moore, and today we're standing in a spot that's going to be used as a garden plot in the spring. Now we're in the fall of the year, and this is a great time to take a soil sample. This will this will give us ample time to make any changes that may need to be made before planting in the spring. Now today, we're going to show you some different tools for taking soil samples, and we're also going to go over some reasons why you'd like to take a soil sample. For one, soil samples will give us accurate recommendations on fertilizers. You don't want to over-apply fertilizers or under-apply. These can lead to adverse effects with the crops. Over-fertilization can also drain into your local water source or groundwater. One thing that we want to do when taking a soil sample is we want to look at the area that we're going to sample, which is this small block here that runs across in front of the corn, down where these existing beds are, and then up to the fence. So this is the area where the garden is going to be planted. After we've established the area, we want to start taking our samples. When you take a soil sample, you go in a zigzag pattern, and you get a representative sample from all over this plot. For this soil test, the recommendation is 10 to 12 subsamples to make up your one sample for the garden. So, to do this, take a subsample, you can use a variety of tools. The first tool that I will show is just a cheap garden shovel, spade shovel, and a soil knife. Now this soil knife is marked from 1 to 6 inches, and for a garden, taking soil sample for a garden, the recommendation is take your sample from 6 to 8 inches. We're going to take it at 6 inches. So what I've done is I've already dug out a hole here with the shovel. That's not the soil that we're going to take our sample from. Take our subsample, we're going to use our soil knife. And what we want to do is just get a profile of that soil. Alright, so that is our soil profile. And what that gives you, I'll knock off the edges there. You don't want a whole lot of debris in your subsample, your sample. But what that gives you is a representation of the soil from the surface down 6 inches. The reason why this is important and why you don't want to just dig it out with a shovel is because the nutrients are really distributed in that profile. You're going to have much more, a bigger concentration up in these top layers and less as you go down. So after you get that, you want to get 10 to 12 of those to make up your individual sample. So we're going to put that in our bucket. Once we have it. And when you use a bucket and your tools, you want to make sure that they're clean. If you use a bucket and you put fertilizer in it, you want to make sure that that's clean, washed out. Fertilizers or other substances can throw your results off, give you false results. Same thing with your tools. You want to make sure that your tools are of the right material. These are all steel. If you don't want to use galvanized materials, brass, copper, these can all alter your results. So, another tool for taking a sample is a soil probe. This is a specialized tool specifically for taking soil samples. So with a soil probe, instead of digging out like the shovel, you just put it down where you want to take the sample, and this one has a foot peg. And I have a little mark here for 6 inches. And you can see, trying to get down there, and that core fell apart. So we want to go somewhere else where we can get a better core. Let's try here. And this is hard to do. So this is one of the downfalls of using a soil probe. And sometimes, depending on the conditions of your soil, it can be hard to get it in to the depth that you want. There we go. So there's our core. You can see that's a little bit under 6 inches, but that's about as far as I could get it in. I'm sure in some of the areas in this plot are a little softer, and I'll be able to get it down to 6 inches. But that would be what you would consider a core or a subsample. So today, people have gotten very innovative with other tools and new technologies to make soil sampling easier. And one way to do that for you as a homeowner is if you already own a cordless drill, you can purchase some things at your local hardware store that can really make this easier. Now, this altogether would be a significant purchase. This cordless drill plus the bit and the extension would be upwards of $200, I'm sure. But if you already own a cordless drill, this is a ship auger bit, and this is a extension for this bit. You don't need this, but it does make things easier. What this is a 3/4 inch bit, and this is used for drilling into wood. But when you put it in the soil, it acts like a soil auger, and it will bring the soil up from the depth that you want. So what we've done is we've altered a bucket, and we have a PVC fitting in here. This is a 3/4 inch PVC fitting to fit the 3/4 inch bit. This is a male adapter, and what we've done is drilled the hole and we put a ring on it and fit it into the bottom of the bucket. You can see I've already taken some samples, but what you can do is you can set the bucket down where you want the sample, and then you can put your drill bit in that area, and then you just sort of take it down like that. And you can take that down to the depth that you want. You can mark your auger bit, and then you get a sample, and that is a subsample from this tool. So for all of those subsamples that I showed you, with each tool you want 10 to 12 to make up your individual sample. So once you have that, and I've already gone on and taken 10 to 12 samples, once you have that, you want to put it in whatever soil lab you use is going to have directions on how you are supposed to get it to that lab. In this case, we are using North Carolina Department of Agriculture provides soil testing, and they provide boxes and forms to fill this out. You can pick these up at your county cooperative extension centers. And with this box, you can see it has a line, and it tells you to fill the box to the line. So what we do, once we got our samples, or subsamples, is we mix them. You want to make sure you have it really good and mixed. That way you get an accurate representation of your plot. Once you have it mixed, we'll fill it to the line, and then you just seal it up. This doesn't need to be taped, nothing like that. Bottom doesn't need to be taped, these just fold together. Okay, once you have this, this is your sample. And what's important, what's very important, is to put your name, your address, and you want to put a sample ID on these. Now, if you don't put name and address and all the relevant information, the lab's not going to know who sent it. You're not going to get your results. Also, your sample ID. Let's say you test your yard along with your garden. If you don't label these specific to your area, you're not going to know which sample is for your garden and which sample is for your yard. So, what you want to do, or you could get mixed up if you split your garden up. It's easier to get mixed up if you don't specify. So what we're going to do here is put G216. And what that's going to tell us is we have a garden plot there that the homeowner is calling G1, and we're going to call this G2. And depending on what you want to do with your garden spots, they're going to keep these two separate into G1 and G2. So once you have these, you put G2, 16. 16 will tell us the year that we took it. And they always take their soil samples in November, which is a good idea to take them out. Try and take your soil samples around the same time of the year. It'll let you see how your soil's changing. But once you have it, the soil sample comes with a form, and this form, this is a routine soil sample. This soil lab also does diagnostic testing, and you would use those soil samples if you had problems within the growing season that you wanted to try and figure out. For this soil sample, what you're going to do is just fill out all your information, and then down at the bottom you'll put the information asked for, which is this, in this case, lime applied within the past 12 months, and you want to put your crops that you're going to grow. First crop, second crop, and each crop has a code. Now for a garden, on this form there is a section just for garden, and in that case that's when you're going to grow a variety of plants, and it's going to give you a general recommendation. Where you would want to maybe vary with this is, let's say you're a big tomato grower and half of your garden is going to be tomatoes. Well, in that case you would want to split it, and you would want to take samples for the area where you're just growing tomatoes, and you could put just tomatoes on here. So that's a strategy that you would definitely want to use if you're growing a lot of one crop. Let's say you're growing a lot of sweet potatoes. Maybe somebody wants to grow only sweet potatoes in here. Then it's not a garden anymore. Then you would look and see if you have a specific recommendation for that crop, and in this case, yes, sweet potatoes is on there. So you want to put sweet potato. So once you have all of your soil test, soil sample, your form filled out, then you just, again, follow the instructions. These soil labs are really good at providing instructions on how to get it there. In this case, you can fill this form out online, or you can tape it to the top of the box. You would mail this in a container that would keep the soil sample from getting damaged in the mail. And once you get it, you get your results online. And Again, that's in the instructions, and you can see all of these, all of your soil samples that you've taken, and you can also compare them from year to year to see how your soil is changing. So now that you know how to take a soil sample, we know why we need these soil samples. We know that fertilizer can, too much or too little, can lead to decreased yields. So in the future, I hope that you take a soil sample, and I hope that this is helpful.